I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars. Summer is here, and so is the Kia K4 Hatchback. This is the replacement to the Kia Cerato hatch. You might have already seen the K4 sedan getting around with a rather challenging and certainly unmissable design. This is the K4 hatch, really the one that's more intended for the European market, but we also get it here in Australia. And frankly, I think it is a much better looking car. Of course, cosmetics are entirely subjective, but even from the rear, I think the K4 is a very cool looking little machine. But as we'll see in today's video, this car's talents are actually more than skin deep. It's actually quite interesting and resolved and capable to drive. More than any Cerato in the past, that's for sure. And even though you can no longer get a GT version of this car, instead, it tops out with this, the GT line. That's the K4 that we're reviewing together today. We'll check out the interior, the back seat and the boot, discuss the real world running costs, and of course take a drive in this top spec turbocharged Kia K4 hatch to see whether it should be on your small car shopping list. But before we get started, hit subscribe down below. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. Jumping inside the Kia K4 hatch now, and very specifically the GT line, we're presented with a very complete interior with up-to-date technology, good comfort features, and little luxuries like heated and cooled seats that keep you temperate even on blazing hot days like this one. But I say very specifically the GT line because, as has been so common with Kias for many years, it's really a tale of two model ranges. There's the GT line, and then there's all the other K4s. Now, they're all built remarkably well. The cabins are screwed together extremely well on these Mexican-built small Kias, and the infotainment is generally impressive across the range. Only the very base S, which has a 4-star NCAP rating, has a downgraded infotainment system. Every version from the S with safety pack that upgrades to a 5-star NCAP rating and above has this big, full, twin 12-inch infotainment layout here, which is really excellent and cutting edge. Plus, every K4 has Kia's Connect telematics and smartphone app functionality and all of that good stuff. Plus wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But while all K4s are fundamentally decent cars, if you want something that feels really complete for the cash, there's kind of no choice but to look at the 47,490 Drive-Away GT line, which exclusively picks up things like a powered driver's seat, seat cooling, sunroof, Harman Kardon stereo, projector LED headlights, LED taillights, a turbo engine, an independent rear suspension, bigger brakes. It's almost like a completely different car in here. It goes from a regular grocery getter to something semi-premium. So while it's worth checking out the K4 Sport or Sport Plus if you're looking to save a bit of cash, the GT line is an order of magnitude above them in terms of premiumness. Now, what about the rest of the cabin? Well, it's extremely well laid out with clear ergonomics. Steering wheel falls right to hand with physical shortcuts, rollers, dials, switches, beautiful. Over here, dedicated controls for the climate, dedicated shortcuts for the infotainment system. Wireless charging down here, again, a GT line exclusive, big cup holders, but only relatively small bottle holders in the doors. But on the whole, this cabin feels good, it's easily laid out, you know what everything does. This is really what we want from a small car, in the GT line at least. All right, that's up front. Let's have a look at the back seat. Moving to the back of the K4 hatch, we find plenty of room for a vehicle that's quite a bit shorter physically than the sedan, but still on a good sized wheelbase for a small car. For myself, at 6 foot or 183 centimeters, headroom is fine, even with the GT line sunroof taking up a bit of space here. Legroom's good, although tow room is a little bit tight. Now, impressively, all K4s from the base model up have rear air vents and these fast charging USB-C ports back here. We could either make this car friendly for your kids or for Uber passengers perhaps. We also get a flip down armrest in all variants. The seat base is high enough to support your legs without too much splaying, although we do take a big step back to these scratchy materials here in the back. Now, that's the case with most small cars, but it wasn't the case for the Hyundai i30, which was always traditionally paired with the Cerato across Hyundai and Kia, but the i30 hatch has now been discontinued for Australia. Moving around the back now, we find my preferred angle of the K4 hatch, because even though this car is not that wide on paper, the styling back here makes it look super wide, and when you're behind it in traffic or seeing it go around a corner, it just looks really cool. Now, this honeycomb color, this is exclusive to the top spec GT line and the second from the top Sport Plus. But there's a few reasons why you'll want to consider stretching to the GT line, as I'll reveal later. Now, this is a lot shorter than the K4 sedan. They're both built in Mexico, but even though the K4 is mainly intended for the European market, it's a bit bigger than cars like a Mazda 3 hatch or a Toyota Corolla hatch, and you get the benefits here in the boot, which is of a reasonable size and quite deep. Underneath that boot floor is also a temporary space saver spare, which is still a nice feature to have. It's becoming rarer out there in the car industry, although no power tailgate, which is a slightly surprising omission on a car that's almost 50 grand drive away. Now, one final word on the proportions. The K4 hatch almost looks like a little station wagon. It's not quite. There is a separate K4 station wagon offered overseas that is a slight chance for Australia, but for now, I think this is a cool looking car.
The Kia K4's 1.6 litre turbo engine used about 8.5 litres per 100 kilometres of fuel in our test. Keep in mind though, this will blow out a little bit higher if all of your driving is urban, and it will be lower if you spend most of your time on the highway. Servicing is required every 12 months and a relatively short 10,000 kilometres for the turbo engine, with the first 5 years adding to $2,435, while the warranty is 7 years with unlimited kilometres.
Okay, time for us to take a drive in the new K4 GT line hatch. See exactly what this little sporty hatchback is like. Now, it's less of a hot option than the old Cerato GT, although the Cerato GT was never really kind of a Golf GTI-esque hot hatch. It was always the warmed up Cerato. But now the GT badge has been reserved for actual hot Kias like the EV6 GT and, the old Stinger GT, which you never know, could make a return someday. So for vehicles like this, which are clearly higher performance than the standard Kia, but not out and out hot and really, really fast, they'll just be GT line. That being said, there is a meaningful jump in performance going from the regular K4 variants to this GT line, and a complete engine change, just like before in the old Cerato lineup. So the regular cars now get a 2-litre MPI, naturally aspirated petrol 4-cylinder engine, making a little bit less than before. It's now 110 kilowatts of power and 180 newton meters of torque, hooked up to the front wheels via a CVT auto. And you know what? The 2-litre cars, they're just fine. They're not going to go anywhere fast, but the CVT is actually one of the better ones out there, and it does a pretty good job of managing the engine's power in order to make the best from that modest 2-litre engine. But it's certainly nothing to write home about, and its CO2 emissions are also not that great. So longer term, Kia will potentially replace that 2-litre with maybe a smaller turbo engine sourced out of the European range. But for now, by far the standout engine is this one in the GT line. It's a slightly updated version of the old GT's 1.6 litre turbo petrol 4-cylinder engine. A little bit less power, but still way more torque than the 2-litre, 265 newton meters on tap across a much broader span of the rev range. And that's exactly how it feels to drive. There's just more muscle, much more muscle everywhere in the GT line. It's also front-wheel drive only, nor does the engine sound particularly fruity, but given Kia has downgraded this from a GT to a GT line, that's probably not really something that we can reasonably complain about. But one good change in going from GT to GT line in K4 guys is that the ride and handling has just been settled down a little bit and ultimately made more sweet. Now, on its 18-inch wheels and lower profile tires, the GT line doesn't ride quite as sweetly as the regular K4. And if you want the best riding K4, you'd go for an S or an S safety pack, which is on 16-inch alloys and nice chunky tires. That car actually rides really, really beautifully. The rest of the range is firm-ish, but not in an uncomfortable way. And that's a big difference to the old Cerato GT, which was always really, really firm, almost hard riding. That's no longer the case in the GT line. It's still noticeably firm for sure, but it's no longer uncomfortable over bumps. You can feel the road surface. You know this car is a little bit sporty, but it's no longer sort of jarring those bumps up into the cabin, which was a little bit unpleasant in the old Cerato GT. Another thing that's been improved is the general cabin refinement. A little bit more noise insulation in my view. It's a little bit quieter in this cabin over coarse chip road, which is certainly good. And the other nice upgrade that you should keep in mind is that the GT line gets multi-link independent rear suspension rather than a simpler, cheaper torsion beam setup, which all of the other variants get. Now, even with the torsion beam, the other K4s actually still handle pretty well, but it's when you encounter a mid-corner bump on a country road that they just don't have as much to give in terms of their ability to handle that at the rear end. But on IRS, the K4 has more up its sleeve in terms of dynamic capability, helps to point the front end in towards the apex of the corner a little bit better. You can just drive this car sort of 20% harder. But really the big takeaway is that Kia has done some nice work on the dynamics of the K4 range, generally speaking. These are pretty mature and sophisticated small cars to drive, more so than before, and they sort of get towards that Volkswagen Golf benchmark in terms of dynamics in this class, which is a big compliment. Now, when it comes to the safety features, they're not too bad. There is audible speed monitoring that can be silenced with a long press of the mute key, which is fine by me. Adaptive cruise control is standard across the range, as is a reversing camera and front and rear parking sensors, but only S with safety pack and above get Kia's latest generation AEB system that's better at detecting oncoming cars at junctions. And unfortunately, Kia's really cool blind spot camera technology is just not available across the K4 range, and that's a bit of a shame. So now it's time for a verdict on the new Kia K4 in GT line guise. Well, frankly, I like this little hatchback. It's not perfect, and the K4 has also become pretty expensive when you compare it to what you would pay for a Cerato back in the day, even the GT. Now, of course, the GT line K4 steps things back a tiny bit in terms of power compared to the old Cerato GT, but it steps things up in terms of its dynamic resolve. The Cerato GT never rode properly. It was always over firm, and I know that some people liked that, but frankly, it wasn't one of the better riding cars in its segment. The K4 is a bit of a revelation in that regard. You can tell it's received more love and more effort in order to make it better riding and handling for Australian roads. And that means that it deserves a spot on your shopping list if you are already looking at a relatively premium small car like a Volkswagen Golf, or perhaps if you are looking at small SUVs, but you want something with better driving dynamics and you don't insist on an unnecessary high ground clearance. A lot of people could be considering hatchbacks instead of SUVs, even though I understand most of the market has gone the other way. Keen to know your opinions? Let us know down below in the comments. While you're there, hit subscribe and the notification bell. And as always, thank you for watching Chasing Cars.